This is Townsquare Sunday on 1420 WBSM, a place where people come together to talk about some of the good things happening in and around New Bedford. A place to share, a place on the radio for the people.
Come together right now over me.
And now, the moderator of Townsquare Sunday, 1420 WBSM's Jim Phillips.
This is the place for the latest updates on community organizations and nonprofits working to better the quality of life on the South Coast. You're listening to Townsquare Sunday, and I'm your host, Jim Phillips. Today, we're spending most of the program focusing on education. It's the start, just about, of a new school year. So who better to get a preview of the year ahead in New Bedford's public schools than speak with Dr. Pia Durkin, who's Superintendent of New Bedford Public Schools. Dr. Durkin, welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Two New Bedford schools have already opened for business, the John Parker School and Hayden McFadden. Both schools have been struggling for a while. Is Parker still level 5? And in general, what do you think about their progress?
Yes, you're right. We have both schools who have expanded learning time, and we also have an additional school that will be starting earlier than most. That's our Gomes School. But focusing on Hayden McFadden and the Parker School, starting with Parker, as you know, I am the receiver superintendent for that school. The late Commissioner Chester appointed me to that role. It takes a while to get really leverage in terms of seeing results. However, we are very pleased at Parker. We're in our third year of turnaround. We are seeing attendance rates go up, tardiness rates go down. We are seeing progress. We are seeing growth in our students. What we want to see more of is really hitting that proficiency mark. We do not want to have children in New Bedford in any school not reaching grade level attainment. So Parker had a very strong start last week. We're very pleased with the staff there and a good launch. Hayden McFadden started earlier than Parker, also with a full staff. They are in year 2 of their new turnaround. As you may recall, Jim, we had a 3-year turnaround plan and did not see the traction we wanted to see. And again, Commissioner Chester allowed us to develop a new turnaround plan with Tammy Morgan heading up that team. And we're seeing some very exciting things happen there. It is a staff that is driven to results. So both schools are on their way. We would like it to happen faster, as I'm sure this community would too, but it didn't take just a little while to get into level 4 and 5. It took a long time. And unfortunately, decisions that were made that I have tried to rectify and continue to do, we don't look backwards, we look forwards. And we're looking forward to a very successful year for both schools.
At Haymack, it had to be kind of a disappointment when you had a turnaround, didn't really catch on, so to speak, and then you had to do it again. Again, you don't look back, but that had to be a little disappointing.
Absolutely. First of all, we can't afford to lose one day with our students. If you recall, and again, taking full ownership of it, that turnaround plan was written before I got here. I always say, hindsight is 20/20. I'm sure you say the same thing. Mm-hmm. We probably should have made some corrections more quickly. What we did find with Hayden McFadden, though, we did see growth. We also did not have enough resources, or how should I put it, not the right resources. We now have 6 English as second language teachers. A large proportion of our students are coming in not knowing English. We see that as an asset because they then learn 2 languages. We also have a newcomer program there for students who are just coming in pretty much right off coming from an immigrant country and not speaking a word of English, which you could imagine the challenge for our teachers. But I am delighted at what we are seeing. I was speaking to Tammy Morgan, and the kindergarten group coming in is very engaged. And as you know, when we start with our little learners and our families engaged at that level, we are only going to see good things happen. So we are very positive about what is happening and having a much more streamlined approach. And I do believe that when we do look at the MCAS 2.0 results for this year, which will not be coming out until October, we're going to see some good gains in both schools.
New Bedford High School, where there has been some progress. Again, is it maybe not as much as you'd like to see, but there is progress at New Bedford High School. Tell us about that.
There is progress. We are seeing more and more students becoming proficient, and we are also seeing fewer students in the failing or needs improvement category. What we are doing this year, and again, with the help of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, is re-looking at that turnaround plan and having staff have a deep voice into what is actually needed in terms of changing instruction. What we're excited about is we believe we have the right structures in place. We also believe that we need far more deeper work in certain areas. So, for example, we have a tremendous amount of students who are English language learners. Again, an asset, not a deficit. We need more providers to be able to work with those students, and we need more content area teachers to work with English as second language teachers. So we also are developing a new approach there with the help of Headmaster Coelho, and obviously it was her design of putting together teams of professionals so that if I'm a freshman, I'm going to have my guidance counselor, my assistant principal, that reading and learning specialist who are going to be with me through grades 9, 10, 11, 12. It's a school of 2,200 students. We have a lot of kids with a lot of needs. We want to reduce that anonymity and also build that what we call reciprocal accountability. I come to school to learn. I'm going to build a relationship with you, and that relationship I'm going to be with you regardless of what occurs and year after year, which we believe will also keep families engaged.
This summer, there was a bit of a change in your summer program. I think it was a change for the better. Jim Mathis from Denison was in here in June, and he said, the teacher's going to come to where the kids are, like Denison and other places, Boys and Girls Club, other kinds of places. And teachers were there this summer to make sure these kids continue to read and learn. How did that all come about? That took some coordination.
Absolutely, and I give tremendous credit to Jim and to what we call all our partners. We have close to 40 partners working in New Bedford Public Schools, and I believe we have done a far better job of getting our act together in the school district to better work with partners. When I came here, one of the first things that was said to me is partners felt they were not welcomed or included in schools, and part of that was you have to have your act together and really help partners see what our goals are so that their goals can be aligned. And Jim was one of those most vocal supporters to help do something differently. And I'm going to be very frank. Our summer program in past years was really not very good. With the best of intentions, really trying to get teachers focused, getting the kids in, we found our attendance was far too low. We found the traction we were getting from summer learning was not strong enough. So with Deputy Superintendent Dr. DeFalco and our partners, we devised a very new and different summer program that we began working on really around Christmas, basically saying we got to go where the kids are. Denison serves tremendous amount of students in the South End. We have other partners who did that, the Y. And why don't we put our teachers there? We have a captive audience, couple the reading and math intervention that we want our kids to do with fun activities as swimming and all the things and field trips that our partners do. And we are thrilled that we are just about putting the data together. And not only are we seeing more participation and attendance, but we're also seeing reducing that infamous summer slide, where we're seeing our children maintaining our skills, the skills that they left in June with now carrying over when they come in September, which is very important for our children to be able to come into September and have an even footing with everyone else that they're in school with. So we're excited about that, and we'll be putting those results out very soon and giving them to the school committee and congratulating our partners on what we're doing. We have more to do, more to improve. We'll be doing an after briefing, but we do believe that we have finally gotten it right as to how to serve kids in the summer.
That is great news. There are some critics, you know them folks. They say there's too much turnover still in the teaching ranks in New Bedford. You're probably going to say that turnaround isn't for everybody, and that what's going on in New Bedford over the last few years, is kind of what you see in turnaround districts. But would you admit that New Bedford has lost a lot of veteran teaching talent?
I will say to you, and you are absolutely right, Jim, you've listened to me now for 4 years. I'm starting my 5th year, and turnaround is not for everyone. However, when you look at the retention data, which is put out by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed, our retention data, when compared to other urban districts, is right on par with what the state is doing. It is the high 80s percentages. Now, I say that because you need to look at numbers to be able to see what that means. Anecdotally, I'm not going to tell you that some people have chosen that this is not for them. And when we see people leaving, and Heather Emsley, our human capital person, is extremely focused on this, to not only recruit and retain people, but what do we need to do better to make sure they're being retained? And why are they leaving? She conducts exit interviews. Not everyone consults to be able to do an exit interview. I just get the data. We don't get names and people of that, and we want to encourage people to give us that feedback. But largely, many people will leave because they want a non-urban district. I cannot compete, nor do I want to, with a Dartmouth or a Fairhaven. They have their own challenges. We have different challenges. But we're not losing a tremendous amount of people going to places like Fall River or Brockton. And sometimes it's a relocation. I can tell you this, though. We are celebrating the teachers who have stayed with us and how they have reinvented themselves. This is hard work. And as I say, it is an honor and a privilege to be in New Bedford. And if you have ideas that you don't think you can be all in New Bedford, then perhaps this isn't the place for you, because it is hard work to reinvent the work we've been doing to be able to get the success with kids.
You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. My guest is New Bedford Superintendent Dr. Pia Durkin. Each year, as the schools are about to open, you give a kind of you called it a convocation past. I call it kind of a kickoff speech to make
it is kickoff. You're right.
Yeah.
Not in the football sense, but you've got it.
But it's a start of something big. And at least it should be the start of something big in an educator's viewpoint. So what about this year's speech? 5 years now. Absolutely.
We're starting year 5, and I can't tell you how excited I am for that convocation speech convocation address to really take place. And, you mentioned that a kickoff. It is about being a team. This work is not about me as superintendent. It is about building the sense of empowerment we have in our teachers, in our principals, in our staff, that we truly can make a difference. And just to give a slight preview for this year's convocation, it is about making a difference. And we are going to be sharing our own stories of how individuals in this school system have made a huge difference. I've always wanted to be able to celebrate individual accomplishments because we really are part of something bigger. It is about setting the context for planning for learning. It's about planning and learning about relationships, and it's about really developing that learning context in classrooms and schools. But rather than shifting always what the teachers are doing, this year's theme is about what are the students doing? What are the students telling us when they are engaged, when they're excited about learning, when they don't want to leave a classroom? That's what we want to replicate across this district, and we have incredible models of where that's done. We also have, and I'm sure if not mentioned today, we were just released from state monitoring, and that is bigger than possibly anyone could imagine. I am going to be trying in the convocation address to share what that actually looks like for a teacher. The state monitor has been in existence since 2010-11. That report in 2011, when I walked in, was incredibly deep in terms of the needs of this school district. To now have that monitor role released, really 6-7 years later, that's a very big thing. 5-6 years later, rather. It's a big thing because it goes with the theme of convocation, saying we see your strategy. It's not just on paper. It is working. We agree with your strategy, and that strategy is producing results. So I want to make that very real for each and every teacher, principal, and staff member that I have the privilege to address at the convocation, that this is all about them. We would not be in this place without them.
When Dr. Larry Finnerty told me about his retirement recently, he especially wanted to thanked the people he worked with on the committee, of course, and the administration. And he also thanked Lou St. John. He said that the Educators Association president had really come a long way attempting to work with the administration and school board. It's much different now than it was in 2011, 2012. We can recall those days, certainly. But what's happening now?
I think you're framing it, how much different it is now, couldn't be said better. I'm very proud of the relationship that the Teachers Union has developed with the administration. And I have a lot of respect for Lou St. John because I came into a situation where I came in as a change agent. That's a very different role than a superintendent being appointed who had been a teacher or a principal or had experience within the district. When you come in under those pretenses, it right away sets up possibly a very strong adversarial relationship. I was very clear from both the mayor and the school committee what I needed to be able to do, not just in and of myself, but how I could mobilize people to do the same. And you well recall, you interviewed me many times, Jim. Those early days were very tough. Number one, I didn't have a team that I had been able to build to believe that New Bedford not only could become excellent, but would become excellent. And a lot of things had been harbored for many, many years that even people who were enjoying some of those things didn't even realize why we were still doing them. So Lou St. John had a very rocky relationship with this administration. And I think the first thing you learn when you become a superintendent is you don't take things personally. And I like to pride myself that I don't, because my goal is on the prize. And the goal is to develop a relationship, a working relationship, that doesn't mean we always have to, we can always agree, but that we can disagree civilly and that I can understand his viewpoint and he can understand mine. And I'm very pleased that here we are in year 5 where we do have that understanding. I'm not going to tell you it's easy. He has his members that he's accountable to, and it's not an easy job. I have 13,000 children and a tremendous amount of staff and 26 schools to lead, and it's not an easy job. And I have to be accountable to a lot of different people, including the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, as well as the mayor and the school committee. But I want to believe, and I know, that we have reached common ground, and that we are more alike than different in terms of making sure not only that kids are succeeding, but that teachers have been given the tools, the resources, and the support to be successful. There is no teacher that wakes up in the morning and says, I don't want to have a good day. I want to have a very positive day, and I'm going to give my all to do that. And I believe that is the genesis of why New Bedford teachers succeed.
Will this be your last go-around?
I can't answer that yet. I'm telling you, I love this work, and I'm going to be able to do what I need to do. I'm very pleased that I have 2 more years on my contract, and all I can say is I will continue to do that work as we keep going forward.
My guest has been Dr. Pia Durkin, Superintendent of New Bedford Schools. I think we all hope for a wonderful year in New Bedford Schools, Superintendent.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your support. And we are looking forward to welcoming those 13,000 kids as they come through our doors and having our principals, teachers, and schools ready for productive learning environments in the 2017-18 school year.
Thanks very much. Stay with us. We'll be right back.